Welcome to ZenLight 8. Ever wondered if those friendly smiles or casual compliments around you are actually genuine? Here's the raw truth. Not everyone has the guts to tell you they don't like you to your face. Instead, they hide it behind subtle moves and emotional traps that can quietly shake your confidence if you're not paying attention. In today's video, we're diving into 7 sneaky signs someone secretly dislikes you, all through the sharp lens of Stoic philosophy. But don't worry, this isn't just about calling out the fakes. It's about empowering you to reclaim your strength, protect your self-worth, and find peace in the mess of human relationships. Let's get into it. 1. They're always joking about your flaws. Let's cut to the chase. Most people don't have the spine to tell you straight up that they don't vibe with you. Instead, they cloak it in something sneakier, something you might not catch if you're not paying attention. Jokes. You know the type. That one person who's always got a quip ready. A little jab about your quirks, your slip-ups, your so-called imperfections. They'll hit you with a grin, toss in a just kidding or I'm only messing with you. And suddenly you're the one feeling like a jerk if you don't laugh along. Sound familiar? It's brutal, but here's the deal. Those harmless jokes aren't harmless at all. They're calculated digs, subtle little knives disguised as humor, designed to chip away at your confidence while they get to sit back and watch you squirm. And the worst part? You might not even see it coming until it's too late. I've been there, hell, most of us have. Picture this. I had this buddy back in the day, someone I thought was solid. We'd hang out, shoot the breeze, and every now and then he'd toss out these zingers. Man, you're still wearing those beat-up sneakers? What, you saving up for a personality next? Or, you're pitching that idea at work? Bold move for someone who can barely pitch a tent. He'd laugh, I'd laugh, and life would roll on. At first, I brushed it off, thought it was just his way of keeping things light. But then it hit me like a freight train. The jokes never stopped. And they weren't random. They always zeroed in on something I was already a little shaky about. My style, my ideas, the stuff I was trying to figure out. It wasn't long before I started second-guessing myself. Were my shoes that bad? Was my latest project doomed to flop? Was I the problem? That's where the real poison kicks in. These aren't just throwaway lines, they're tests. They're seeing how much you'll take, how far they can push before you push back. It's manipulation dressed up as fun. A slick way for them to flex their dominance while keeping you off balance. And here's the controversial bit. We've all been conditioned to suck it up. Can't take a joke? Toughen up. Too sensitive? That's on you. But let's flip that script right now. There's nothing weak about calling out disrespect when it's staring you in the face. In fact, it's the strongest damn thing you can do. Think about it. True friends don't need to poke at your flaws to feel good about themselves. They don't get a kick out of watching you stumble over your own doubts. If someone's constantly joking about what you're insecure about, your looks, your hustle, your dreams, they're not in your corner. They're standing above you, tossing crumbs of fake camaraderie while secretly hoping you stay down there. I learned that the hard way with my old pal. After months of those little jabs, I noticed something. He never once cracked a joke about what I was good at. My wins? Silent. My strengths? Invisible. But the second I tripped up, he was right there with a punchline. That's not friendship, that's a power play. Here's where Stoic philosophy comes in clutch. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, that badass Roman emperor, talked a lot about what's in your control and what's not. You can't control what comes out of someone's mouth, but you can damn well control how you let it hit you. Those jokes? They're not about you, they're about the person throwing them. Their need to feel bigger, better, sharper. But if you keep laughing along, you're handing them the reins to your self-worth. I did that for too long, and it messed with my head. I'd catch myself in the mirror, wondering if I really was the walking disaster he made me out to be. It wasn't until I stopped playing along that I started seeing the game for what it was. Let me paint you another picture. I was at a party once, chilling with a group of folks I thought were cool. One guy, let's call him Jake, had this habit of teasing me every chance he got. Oh, you're still chasing that writing gig? Guess some people never give up on their little dreams. Everyone laughed, and I forced a smile, but inside, I was fuming. That little dream was something I'd poured my soul into, and he knew it. Later that night, I pulled him aside and asked, "What's up with the constant digs, man?" He blinked, shrugged, and hit me with, "Relax, it's just a joke." But here's the thing, it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a spotlight on every crack in my armor, and he was loving it. That moment was a wake-up call. I realized I'd been complicit in my own takedown. By grinning and bearing it, I was greenlighting every jab he threw. So I changed the play. Next time he tried it, "Wow, you actually showed up on time for once." I didn't laugh. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "What's funny about that?" Dead silence. The vibe shifted, and you could tell he wasn't ready for it. He mumbled something about me being too serious, but the jabs? They slowed way down after that. Turns out, when you stop feeding the beast, it starves. Now, let's get real. Calling this out isn't easy. It's awkward as hell. You might ruffle feathers, lose a few friends, or get labeled as the buzzkill. But what's the alternative? Letting someone whittle you down until you're a shell of yourself? Nah, that's not living, that's surviving. The Stoics would say your dignity's worth more than that. They'd tell you to stand tall, own your space, and not let anyone's cheap shots define who you are. And they're right. Life's too short to waste on people who think your flaws are their playground. I've seen it play out in other ways, too. Take my cousin, Sarah. She had this coworker who'd always joke about her being the quiet one in meetings. "Oh, Sarah's awake today. Miracle alert." Started small, but over time, she stopped speaking up altogether. She told me she felt like every word she said was just ammo for the next laugh. That's the damage these digs can do. They don't just sting in the moment. They linger, they fester, they make you shrink. When she finally snapped and told the guy to cut it out, he backpedaled hard. "It's not that deep," but she held her ground. And you know what? She started owning those meetings after that. The jokes stopped, and her voice got louder. Funny how that works. So here's the deep truth. Those flaw-focused jokes aren't about making you laugh. They're about keeping you in check. They're a subtle flex, a way for someone to remind you of your place while dodging any real accountability. And the longer you let it slide, the bolder they get. It's a slippery slope. Starts with a chuckle, ends with you questioning your whole damn existence. But you don't have to play that game. You've got the power to flip it, to decide what's funny and what's just straight up disrespectful. My advice? Next time someone drops a joke that hits a little too close to home, pause. Don't laugh it off on autopilot. Ask yourself, is this actually funny? Or is it a dig with a smile? If it's the latter, don't be afraid to push back. Hit them with a "what do you mean by that?" or a flat out, "that's not cool." It doesn't have to be a showdown. Just enough to let them know you're not their punching bag. Yeah, it might get tense. Yeah, they might not like it. But your self-respect, that's non-negotiable. I had to learn this the hard way, and it changed everything. Once I stopped letting those jabs land, I stopped doubting myself so much. I started owning my quirks, my missteps, my whole damn story, because none of it's fodder for someone else's ego. And the people who stuck around, they didn't need to tear me down to build themselves up. That's the crew you want. The ones who see your flaws and don't turn them into a punchline. In the end, it's your call. You can keep laughing along, letting those jokes eat at you bit by bit, or you can draw the line and watch the dynamic shift. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, not ones who get off on knocking you down. Because here's the kicker, you're not a joke. You're a force. And anyone who can't handle that doesn't deserve a front row seat in your life. Stand tall, speak up, and don't let anyone reduce you to their cheap laugh. You're worth more than that. Full stop. 2. They give compliments that sting like insults. Let's get real. There's nothing worse than a compliment that leaves you feeling like you've just been sucker punched. You know the kind. Someone smiles, says something nice, and yet you're left standing there with a sour taste in your mouth, wondering if you should feel flattered or insulted. Wow, that's actually pretty good for someone like you. You're smarter than you look. This is impressive, considering you're new at this. On the surface, it sounds like praise, but dig a little deeper and it's a backhanded slap. A sneaky little jab wrapped in velvet that's meant to knock you down a peg while they play innocent. Here's the brutal truth. Those aren't compliments. They're insults with a bow on top, designed to undermine you while keeping you guessing about your own worth. And if you don't catch it, they'll keep doing it until you're drowning in self-doubt. I've been there, and it stings like hell. I remember this one time I poured my heart into a project. Late nights, endless revisions, the whole deal. When I finally showed it to a group of people I trusted, one of them, someone I thought had my back, hit me with, "Hey, this is honestly decent for you." I froze. Decent for me? What was that supposed to mean? Was I some charity case who wasn't supposed to pull off anything worthwhile? The room kept buzzing, but I was stuck on those 4 little words. They didn't just take the wind out of my sails, they sank the whole damn ship. At first, I tried to shrug it off. Maybe I was overthinking it, right? But the more I replayed it, the clearer it got. That wasn't praise. It was a dig, a way to keep me in my place while pretending to cheer me on. That's the game with these so-called compliments. They're not accidents, they're intentional. People who drop lines like that aren't lifting you up. They're holding you down with one hand while patting your head with the other. It's a power move, plain and simple. They see you stepping up, shining a little brighter than they're comfortable with, and instead of celebrating it, they toss out these half-baked compliments to remind you not to get too big for your britches. And here's where it gets messy. We've all been conditioned to swallow it. You don't want to seem ungrateful or petty, so you nod, smile, and let it slide. But deep down, that sting festers. It makes you question yourself. Am I really that incapable? Did I just get lucky? Are they right? Let's flip that on its head right now. There's nothing wrong with calling out a compliment that's really a cut. In fact, it's your damn right. Stoic philosophy backs this up. Think of Seneca, that old-school sage who said you should focus on what you can control and let the rest roll off. You can't stop someone from saying shady crap, but you can control how you take it. Those backhanded lines? They're not a reflection of you. They're a mirror for the person dishing them out. Their insecurity, their need to keep you small so they can feel tall. I had to learn that the hard way, and it changed how I see every nice word that comes my way. Take this other time. I just landed a small win at work, nothing huge, but I was proud of it. A colleague I thought was cool leaned in and said, "Not bad, considering you're usually all over the place." Ouch. The not bad part hooked me for a second, but that considering bit, it was like a slap with a smile. I stood there, half thanking her, half wondering what all over the place even meant. Was that how she saw me? Was that how everyone saw me? For days I couldn't shake it. I started overanalyzing every move I made at work, second-guessing every email, every idea. That's the poison of a backhanded compliment. It doesn't just hit you once. It lingers, gnawing at your confidence until you're not sure what's real anymore. Here's the controversial part. We've all done it. Maybe not on purpose, but we've let a snarky, "You clean up nice," or "You're actually kind of funny," slip out when our own insecurities were running the show. I'll own that. I've caught myself tossing out a "Wow, you pulled that off?" when I was secretly jealous of someone's hustle. But being on the receiving end, that's what woke me up. It's not about the words themselves, it's about the intent. A real compliment builds you up. A fake one tears you down while pretending to prop you up. And the people who master this art, they're banking on you not calling it out, on you just taking it because it's easier than making waves. But let's talk about why they do it. People who sling these veiled insults are scared. They see your potential, your spark, and it rattles them. Maybe you're stepping into a space they've claimed as theirs, or maybe you're just doing better than they expected. Either way, they can't handle it. So they hit you with a good job for someone like you to keep you in check. It's their way of saying, "I see you climbing, but don't forget I'm still above you." It's toxic as hell, but it's so slick you almost miss it. Almost. Once you see it for what it is, though, it loses its bite. You realize it's not about your flaws, it's about their fear. I had a friend, let's call her Lisa, who was a pro at this. Every time I'd share something I was excited about, she'd come back with, "Oh, that's cute. I didn't think you had it in you." Cute? Didn't think I had it in me? It'd leave me feeling deflated. Like my wins were some fluke she was graciously acknowledging. For a while, I let it slide. Didn't want to rock the boat. But one day, I'd had enough. I showed her a piece I'd written, something I was damn proud of, and she hit me with, "It's solid, better than I expected from you." I didn't smile that time. I looked at her and said, "What's that supposed to mean?" She blinked, laughed it off, said I was being dramatic. But I pressed, "No, seriously, what did you expect?" The stammering that followed was gold. She didn't have an answer because there wasn't one. It was just a cheap shot, and I'd finally called her bluff. That's the move right there. Don't let it slide. When someone drops a compliment that stings, hit them with a, "What do you mean by that?" Watch them squirm. It's not about starting a fight. It's about taking back the narrative. You're not here to be their punching bag, and you don't have to let their words define you. The Stoics would say your worth isn't up for grabs. It's yours to guard. And damn right it is. After that showdown with Lisa, something shifted. She dialed back the shady praise, and I stopped letting her or anyone plant those seeds of doubt. I started hearing compliments for what they were, not what they might be hiding. Here's a deeper cut. These moments reveal more than just the other person's game. They show you where you're at with yourself. If a backhanded compliment shakes you, it's because it's poking at something you're already wrestling with. For me, it was this nagging fear that I wasn't good enough, that every success was a fluke. Lisa's words didn't create that, they just turned up the volume. So I had to face it. I started owning my work, my wins, my whole messy journey. Not because someone else validated it, but because I did. That's when the stings stopped landing so hard, because I wasn't handing over my power anymore. My advice? Next time you get a nice try, didn't think you'd get this far, don't just take it. Pause. Look at it. Ask them to explain it. 9 times out of 10, they'll back off because they know they've been caught. And if they double down, walk away. You don't need that noise. Life's too short to waste on people who can't cheer you on without a catch. Surround yourself with the ones who see your value and say it straight. No strings, no shade. Because here's the deep truth. Your worth isn't a debate. It's a fact. And anyone who tries to compliment you into doubting that doesn't deserve your time. I've lost a few connections over this, Lisa included, and I'm good with it. The ones who stuck around, they don't need to tear me down to feel big. They celebrate me, full stop. That's the crew you want. So stand up, call it out, and don't let anyone's velvet glove smack you into submission. You're not here to be good for someone like you. You're here to be you, period. Own it. 3. They subtly exclude you from plans. Let's be honest. There's nothing that cuts deeper than realizing you've been left out. You're scrolling through your phone, and bam, there it is. Pics of your friends, laughing it up at some dinner, party, or random hangout you didn't even know about. They'll hit you with the classic excuses. "Oh, it was last minute. We figured you were busy. Oops, forgot to text you." And you're supposed to just nod and let it go. But here's the cold, hard truth. It's not an accident. That forgetting to invite you is not a slip-up. It's a choice. A quiet, gutless way to push you out without having to say it to your face. It's a neon sign flashing that you're not a priority. And if you don't clock it, you'll keep chasing after people who've already decided you don't belong. I felt that sting more times than I'd like to admit. One time sticks out like a sore thumb. It was a Saturday night, and I was kicking back, scrolling through Instagram, when I saw it. A group of folks I'd been tight with, all decked out, grinning at some rooftop bar. My stomach dropped. Not a single heads up. No, "Hey, you in?" Just crickets. I texted one of them, casual as hell. "Looks like fun. When this come up?" The reply, "Oh yeah, it was super spontaneous. Didn't think you'd be free." Bullshit. I'd been free as a bird, and they knew it. Hell, I'd even mentioned wanting to hang that weekend. But there they were, clinking glasses without me, and I was left feeling like some backup option they didn't bother to call. That's the kicker with subtle exclusion. It's the little things that hit hardest. It's not some dramatic "you're out" speech. It's a slow fade, a passive-aggressive nudge to the sidelines. And here's where it gets real. It's deliberate. They don't forget because they're scatterbrained. They leave you out because they want to. Maybe you don't fit their vibe anymore. Maybe they're curating their crew and you didn't make the cut. Or maybe they just don't value you enough to care. Whatever the reason, they're sending a message without words. You're not in the circle. And the worst part? They bank on you not making a fuss about it. They hope you'll swallow the excuses and fade away quietly, No confrontation needed. I used to buy those excuses, too. I'd tell myself, they're busy, it's no big deal, next time I'll be there. But then next time never came. I'd see the pics, hear the stories after the fact, and each one was a little jab, proof I wasn't on their radar. It messed with me. I started wondering what was wrong with me. Was I boring? Too much? Not enough? That's the trap with this kind of exclusion. It's so sneaky you end up blaming yourself instead of seeing it for what it is. Their choice, not your failing. And let's get controversial here, we've all been conditioned to take it lying down. Calling it out feels petty, needy, like you're begging for a seat at the table. But screw that. You don't have to beg for what you deserve. Stoic philosophy drops some wisdom on this. Think Marcus Aurelius, he'd say you can't control who invites you where, but you can control how you handle it. You don't have to let their snub define your worth. I had to learn that through trial and error. For a while, I kept quiet, playing nice, hoping they'd magically remember me next time. Spoiler, they didn't. It wasn't until I stopped waiting and started asking the hard questions that things shifted. One time, after another oops, forgot moment, I hit them with, "Hey, I saw you all went out again. Why didn't anyone let me know?" The stammering was priceless. We thought you were tied up," one said. "It was super last minute," another chimed in. I didn't let it slide. Last minute or not, a text takes 5 seconds. "What's up?" Dead air. They didn't have a real answer because there wasn't one. It wasn't about logistics, it was about me not being on their list. That moment flipped a switch. I realized I'd been letting them decide my place in their lives, like some doormat waiting for scraps of inclusion. No more. Calling it out was awkward as hell. Some got defensive, others brushed it off, but it forced the truth into the open. And yeah, it changed things. A couple of them stepped up, started including me more. Others faded out completely. Either way, I wasn't in the dark anymore. I wasn't chasing shadows, wondering where I stood. I took the reins, and that's where the power lies. Here's the deep cut. Exclusion isn't just thoughtlessness. It's cowardice. They don't have the guts to tell you they're done with you, so they ghost you from the group instead. It's easier for them to forget than to face the mess of being real. I've been on the other side, too. I'll own it. There were times I didn't invite someone because I didn't know how to say, "We're not clicking anymore." It's human, sure, but it's weak. And being on the receiving end taught me it's better to rip the band-aid off than let someone twist in the wind. When I finally got excluded one too many times, I stopped buying the busy line and started seeing it for what it was. A polite shove out the door. Take my buddy Jake, he was part of that rooftop crew. We'd been close, or so I thought. After that night, I watched the pattern. He'd post about hangouts I wasn't in on, always with the same spontaneous excuse. I confronted him straight up. "Dude, you've forgotten me 3 times now, what's the deal?" He squirmed, said he didn't mean anything by it, but his actions screamed louder than his words. I didn't need a dissertation, just the truth. And the truth was, I wasn't his priority. Fine. I stopped reaching out, and guess what? He didn't either. Relationship over, no drama needed. Sometimes exclusion does you a favor, it shows you who's worth your energy. Here's where it gets personal. I had this other group, coworkers I'd bonded with over late-night deadlines. We'd grab drinks, vent about the grind, the usual. Then one day, the invites dried up. I'd see them post about happy hours, weekend trips, and I wasn't even a blip. First time, I let it go. Second time, I asked, "Hey, what happened to the invite?" Got the "oh, we assumed you were swamped" line. By the third time, I was done playing dumb. I said, "Look, if you don't want me there, just say it. I'm a big boy." They backpedaled hard. No, we love having you." But the proof was in the pudding. They kept forgetting. And I kept not showing up in their pics. Eventually, I walked away. Didn't need to beg for a spot in their clique. That's the stoic move. Focus on what you can control. I couldn't force them to include me, but I could stop chasing their approval. And damn, it felt good. The less I cared about their plans, the more I built my own. Ones where I wasn't an afterthought. Exclusion hurts, no lie, but it's also a filter. It sifts out the people who don't see your value, leaving room for the ones who do. I started hanging with folks who texted me first, who made sure I was in the loop. Not because I demanded it, but because they wanted me there. That's the difference. So here's the deep truth. If someone's subtly excluding you, it's not about their schedule or your availability. It's about their priorities. People make time for what matters to them. If you're not on the invite list, you're not on their mind. And that's okay, it's clarity. Don't waste your energy on folks who'd rather forget you than face you. Call it out if you want. Hit them with a "why'd I miss this one?" and watch the excuses pile up. Or just let it go and move on. Either way, don't let it define you. You're not a backup plan, you're the main event. My advice? Next time you spot those pics and feel that pang, don't brush it off. Ask the question. Push for the truth. If they dodge, you've got your answer. Life's too short to hover on the edges of someone else's world. Surround yourself with people who don't just remember you, they seek you out, because you deserve a seat at the table, not a maybe next time. Stand tall, take stock, and don't let anyone's quiet push-out make you feel small. You're worth more than their oversight. Full stop. 4. They're only busy when it comes to you. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. There's nothing more frustrating than someone who's always too busy for you but somehow finds time for everyone else. You reach out, try to make plans, and it's the same old song. Sorry, I'm swamped. Work's crazy right now. Can we rain check? Meanwhile, you're scrolling through their stories, watching them grab drinks with coworkers, hit up weekend trips, or just kick back with mutual friends. Busy? Sure, for you. Here's the unfiltered truth. They're not too busy. They're too busy for you. It's not about their packed schedule. It's about where you rank on their list. And if you're always the one getting the maybe later brush off while they're out living it up with others, that's a glaring sign you're not a priority. Period. I've been there, and it's a gut punch every time. I had this friend, let's call her Mia, who I used to be tight with. We'd hang out all the time, grab coffee, vent about life. Then things shifted. I'd text her, "Hey, want to catch up?" And it'd be, "Oh, I'm slammed this week. Maybe next time?" Cool, I'd wait. But then I'd see her posting pics. Brunch with her work crew, movie nights with her boyfriend, random hikes with people I didn't even know. Next week rolled around. Same story. Still swamped, sorry. Meanwhile, her feed was a highlight reel of everything she wasn't too busy for, except me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. She wasn't juggling some insane life. She was just juggling me out of it. That's the sting of this game. It's not the busy part that gets you. It's the pattern. They've got time to spare, just not for you. And they'll dress it up with excuses so smooth you almost buy it. Work's been wild, they say, as if that explains why they're at happy hour with everyone but you. It's a polite dodge, a way to keep you at arm's length without having to own up to it. And here's where it gets real. We've all been trained to eat it up. Someone says they're busy, and you're supposed to nod, smile, and wait your turn. Calling it out feels clingy, pushy, like you're the one overstepping. But let's flip that right now. There's nothing needy about wanting people to value you enough to show up. You're not asking for the moon, you're asking for a damn text back. Stoic philosophy has a take on this that cuts through the noise. Think Epictetus. He'd tell you to focus on what's in your hands and let go of what's not. You can't force someone to make time for you, but you can decide how long you'll keep chasing them. I had to learn that the hard way with Mia. For months, I kept trying, suggesting plans, working around her busy life, hoping she'd carve out a slot. Each "not this time" chipped away at me. I'd see her out with others and wonder, what's wrong with me? Why am I the one she can't fit in? That's the trap. It turns inward, makes you question your worth instead of their actions. But then it clicked. Her busy was a choice, not a circumstance. And I was choosing to let it mess with me. Here's a story that still burns. I had this other friend, Dave, guy I'd known since college. We used to be inseparable, but over time, he got busy. I'd hit him up, "Yo, let's grab a beer." And it'd be, "Man, I'm tied up, work's nuts." Fair enough, I'd think. Then I'd run into mutual friends who'd casually drop, "Oh yeah, Dave was at the game last night." Or he hosted poker at his place. Killer night. Poker? The game? Meanwhile, I couldn't get him to meet for a 20-minute drink. One day I saw him post a pic. Big group, all smiles, some bar I'd never been to. I texted him that morning, got the swamped line, and there he was, living proof it was bullshit. I was pissed, but more than that, I was done. That's when I stopped playing along. I texted him, "Saw you had time for poker. Guest beer with me didn't make the cut?" He came back with, "Oh, that just came up. Didn't plan it." Sure, dude. I didn't argue, just let it hang there. He didn't follow up, and neither did I. It wasn't about the beer. It was about the message. I wasn't worth his time. And here's the controversial bit. Busy isn't an excuse. It's a cop-out. People make time for what they care about. If they're always tied up when it's you, it's not their calendar talking. It's their priorities. They're saying, without saying it, "You're not on my list." And that's a truth you've got to face, even if it sucks. Let's dig deeper. Why do they do this? Sometimes it's laziness. They don't want the hassle of keeping up with you. Sometimes it's guilt. They know they're drifting but can't admit it. Or maybe they've just outgrown you and don't have the balls to say it. I've been on the other side, too. I'll cop to it. There were times I dodged plans with someone because I didn't feel the spark anymore, and busy was my easy out. It's human, but it's weak. Being on the receiving end flipped the script for me. With Dave, I saw it clear as day. He wasn't swamped, he was selective. And I wasn't selected. Fine. I'd rather know than keep knocking on a door that's already locked. Here's where it gets personal. I had this coworker, Sarah, who I thought was a friend. We'd chat at the office, grab lunch sometimes. Then she started pulling the busy card. "Can't today, got a deadline," she'd say. Next thing I know, she's posting about drinks with the team, same day, same night. I'd ask again, same excuse, same pattern. One time, I straight up said, "You're busy a lot lately, everything cool?" She laughed it off. "Oh, you know how it is." But I didn't laugh. I pressed, "Yeah, but you're not busy with them. What's up with us?" She fumbled, said she'd make time soon. But soon never came. I stopped asking. Saw her out with others after that, didn't even blink. She'd made her choice. I made mine. That's the stoic play, own what you can. I couldn't make Sarah or Dave or Mia pencil me in, but I could stop begging for it. And damn, it's liberating. The less I chased, the more I saw who actually showed up. I started investing in people who didn't need a rain check. Folks who'd text me, "You free? Let's roll." Not because I guilt them into it, but because they wanted to. That's the shift. You don't have to twist arms for real friends. They're there, no excuses needed. So here's the deep truth. Busy is a smokescreen. People carve out time for what matters: work, love, hobbies, whatever. If you're the only one they're too busy for, it's not about their life. It's about your place in it. And that's okay, it's intel. You don't need to grovel for their scraps. Call it out if you want. Funny how you're swamped for me but not them. And watch the excuses unravel. Or just walk away. Either way, don't let it eat at you. Your time's too valuable for one-sided games. My advice? Next time they pull the busy card while their life says otherwise, don't shrug it off. Ask the question, how come you've got time for that but not this? If they dodge, you've got your answer. Life's too short to be someone's maybe. Surround yourself with people who make you a yes. Folks who don't just fit you in, but seek you out. Because you're not a rain check, you're a now. Stand up, see it for what it is, and don't let anyone's busy make you feel less. You're worth more than their leftovers, end of story. 5. They avoid physical contact. Let's get straight to it. There's something primal about physical contact. A handshake, a hug, a pat on the back. It's how we connect, how we signal trust and warmth without saying a word. So what does it mean when someone dodges that like you're carrying the plague? It's not just a quirk or a preference. It's a billboard screaming they're not comfortable with you. They're keeping you at a distance, and not just physically. It's a quiet, unmistakable sign of disconnection. A wall they're throwing up without ever having to explain it. And if you don't catch it, you'll keep wondering why things feel off when the truth's been staring you in the face all along. I've been on the wrong end of this, and it's a weird kind of hurt. I had this coworker, Ryan, guy I worked with for years. We weren't best buds, but we got along, Shared laughs, the usual office vibe. I'm a tactile person. Handshakes, fist bumps, nothing over the top. But with Ryan, every time I'd go for a good job, man pat or even a casual handshake, he'd flinch. Not a subtle lean back. Full-on recoil, like I was radioactive. At first, I thought it was me. Maybe I'd misread the room, come on too strong. But then I noticed something. He wasn't like that with everyone. He'd slap backs with the other guys, hug the new hire on her birthday, no hesitation. With me, it was like an invisible force field went up every time I got close. That's when it hit me. It wasn't about touch. It was about me. That's the gut punch of this avoidance. It's not random, it's selective. And when you're the one they're dodging, it sends a message louder than words. Something's off, and they're not letting you in. Here's the raw truth. Physical contact is a baseline for human connection. It's how we show we're cool with someone, how we bridge the gap between you and me. So when they stiffen up, step back, or swerve your handshake, they're not just avoiding your hand, they're avoiding you. It's a rejection wrapped in silence. And it's so subtle you might convince yourself it's nothing. But it's not nothing. It's a signal, and you'd be a fool to ignore it. I tried brushing it off with Ryan. Told myself he was just not a touchy guy. But the evidence kept piling up. Team lunch? He'd slide to the other end of the table. High five after a win? He'd nod instead, hands jammed in his pockets. It wasn't paranoia, it was a pattern. And it started messing with me. Was he pissed? Did I do something? I'd replay every convo, searching for the moment I'd crossed a line. That's the trap. It turns inward, makes you question yourself instead of their deal. But here's where Stoic philosophy steps in like a lifeline. Think Marcus Aurelius. He'd say you can't control how someone reacts, only how you respond. Ryan's flinch wasn't my burden to carry. It was his. I just had to see it for what it was. Let's talk controversy. Physical touch isn't optional for everyone. It's a need. Sure, some folks aren't into it, and that's fine, boundaries matter. But when they're warm and open with others and freeze up around you, that's not a preference. That's a statement. They're drawing a line and you're on the outside. I've seen it play out beyond Ryan, too. I had this friend, Jess, someone I'd known since high school. We used to hug hello, no big deal. Then one day it stopped. I'd go in for the usual and she'd sidestep, laugh it off. Oh, I'm sweaty. Or not today. Meanwhile, I'd see her practically tackle other friends with bear hugs at parties. Same night, same vibe, just not with me. It wasn't about sweat. It was about distance. And it stung because I didn't know why. That's the kicker with this avoidance. It leaves you guessing. They don't owe you an explanation, but you're left piecing it together like some detective. With Jess, I let it slide for a while. Didn't want to make it weird, but it kept happening. Hugs turned into waves, waves turned into nothing. I'd stand there, arms half out, feeling like an idiot while she breezed past to someone else. Finally, I asked, "Hey, you good? You've been dodging me lately." She blinked, said, "What? No, I'm just not big on touching." Liar. I'd seen her draped over half our crew 5 minutes earlier. I didn't push, just nodded and let it sink in. She wasn't not big on touching. She was not big on touching me. Here's the deep cut. This isn't about hygiene or personal space. It's about comfort. If they're dodging your handshake while high-fiving the next guy, they're not awkward, they're uneasy with you. Maybe they don't trust you, maybe they don't like you, maybe they're just done. Whatever it is, their body's saying what their mouth won't. And let's be real, we've all dodged someone too. I've leaned back from a hug I didn't want, sidestepped a handshake because the vibe was off. It's human. But when you're the one getting dodged, it's a wake-up call. With Jess, it forced me to see the drift I'd been ignoring. We weren't as close as I thought, and her body language was the proof. So I started paying attention. There was this other time, a family thing, big reunion, lots of hugs going around. My cousin Mike, who I'd always been cool with, kept his distance. Everyone else got the full bear hug treatment. Me? A stiff nod from across the room. I tested it, walked up, hand out for a shake. He took it, but it was quick, limp, like he couldn't wait to pull back. Later, I saw him arm around his sister, laughing, totally at ease. Same day, same space, different me. I didn't grill him, didn't need to. The message was clear. He wasn't feeling me, and his hands-off approach said it all. That's when I leaned into the stoic angle hard. You can't make someone hug you, shake your hand, or sit close without flinching. That's their call. But you can decide what it means for you. With Mike, with Jess, with Ryan, I stopped twisting myself into knots over it. Their avoidance wasn't my flaw, it was their signal. And signals matter. If someone's dodging your touch while embracing everyone else, Here's the deep truth. Physical contact builds trust. It's a bridge to closeness, a way to say, I'm here, I'm with you. When they pull back from that, they're pulling back from you, emotionally, mentally, maybe even spiritually. It's not just a body thing, it's a soul thing. I had to learn that with Ryan. After months of his recoils, I sat him down. Man, what's up? You flinch every time I'm near you. He shrugged. Just not big on that stuff. But I'd seen him with others. I said, not with them though. He went quiet, then mumbled something about vibes. Vague, sure, but enough. The vibe was off with me. I didn't push further. I let it go, focused on the people who didn't shrink away. My advice? Watch the patterns. If they're dodging your touch but not others, it's not about them being not touchy. It's about you. Don't ignore it, ask the question. Hey, you seem off with me. What's up? If they dodge that too, you've got your answer. Life's too short for one-sided connections. Surround yourself with people who meet you halfway, hands out, hearts open. Because you're not a pariah, you're worth the reach. Stand tall, see the signs, and don't let anyone's distance make you feel small. You deserve the real thing, full stop. 6. They disappear when you need support. Let's cut through the noise. There's no test of loyalty like a crisis. When life hits you hard, you find out who's really in your corner and who's just along for the ride. So what does it say when someone vanishes the second you need them most? They're not just flaky, they're showing you they don't care enough to stick around. You're drowning, reaching out for a lifeline, and they're nowhere. Hitting you with, I'm busy, or radio silence while they're out living their best life. It's not a coincidence. It's a choice. And the cold, hard truth is this. They're only there for the good times, not the real ones. If they bail when you're down, they're not your people. Full stop. I felt this knife twist firsthand, and it's brutal. A while back, I hit a rough patch, lost a job I'd poured everything into. I was a mess, stressed, broke, barely keeping it together. Naturally, I turned to the folks I thought were solid. One of them, Alex, was a guy I'd known for years. We'd partied together, crashed at each other's places. The works. I texted him, man, I'm in a hole. Can we talk? Crickets. A day later, he finally hit back, sorry dude. Swamped at work? Catch you later. Later? I was falling apart now. Meanwhile, I saw him posting, out with friends, beers in hand, not a care in the world. Swamped, my ass. He wasn't busy, he was absent. And that silence screamed louder than any excuse. That's the gut punch of this disappearing act. It's not just that they're not there. It's that they're there for everyone else. You're bleeding and they're at the bar. You're lost and they're laughing somewhere else. They'll swear it's not personal. Life's crazy right now. But let's be real. People make time for what matters. If they can't spare 5 minutes when you're at your lowest, it's because you don't rank high enough to count. And here's where it gets raw. We've all been conditioned to take it. They ghost you in your darkest hour, and you're supposed to shrug. Oh well, they're busy. Nah, screw that. You don't have to eat their leftovers when you're starving for support. Stoic philosophy drops a truth bomb here. Think Seneca, he'd say you can't control who shows up, but you can control who you lean on. I had to learn that the hard way with Alex. For a while, I kept hoping he'd check in. Sent another text, left a voicemail. Got nothing but, I'll get back to you. Spoiler, he didn't. Each dodge hit harder, not because I needed his fix, but because I'd banked on him being there. I'd been there for him. Late night talks when his girl dumped him, rides when his car died. But when my turn came, vanished. It wasn't just a letdown. It was a betrayal, and it forced me to see the scoreboard. I was all in, he wasn't even playing. Here's another one that still stings. I had this friend, Tara, close bud, always had my back. Then my mom got sick real bad, hospital stays, the whole nightmare. I was a wreck, juggling visits and work, barely holding it together. I called Tara, "Hey, I'm losing it. Can you swing by?" She said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Things are hectic, I'll try." Try? I needed her now. Days passed, nothing. Then I saw her online. Pics from some concert, all smiles. Hectic. Huh? I texted. "Guess you made it out. Hope it was worth it." She fired back, "Don't guilt trip me. I've got my own stuff." Her stuff was a night out. Mine was my world crumbling. That was the last straw. I was done. That's the controversy here. People love preaching, "I'm always there for you." But when the chips are down, most bolt. They'll ride the highs, laugh with you, toast your wins. But the minute it's messy, they're ghosts. It's easier to vanish than deal with your pain. They don't want the weight, the discomfort, the real shit. And let's be honest, true support isn't convenient. Just showing up when it sucks, when it's hard, when you'd rather be anywhere else. If they disappear instead, they're not just failing you, they're showing you their limit. With Tara, I saw it clear. She was a fair-weather friend, not a storm chaser. Her hectic was a dodge. My crisis was her exit. Here's the deep cut. This isn't about forgetfulness. It's about investment. If they cared, they'd find a way. A call, a text, a "how you holding up?" It's not rocket science. But when they go MIA, they're saying your struggle isn't worth their time. I've been on both sides, I'll own it. There were times I ducked a friend's call because I didn't want the heaviness. It's human, sure, but it's weak. Being the one left hanging taught me that. With Alex, I kept waiting for him to step up. Kept thinking, he's my guy. He'll come through. He didn't. I saw him at a party weeks later, all laughs, no mention of my hell. I didn't even bring it up. Just watched him shine while I'd been sinking. Let's get personal. Another time, my car broke down. Middle of nowhere, pouring rain. I called my buddy Jake, someone I'd helped move twice. "Man, I'm stuck. Can you grab me?" He said, "Shit. I'm tied up, try Uber." Tied up? I saw him later, posted a gym selfie, timestamped an hour after my call. Gym over me stranded. I confronted him. "Bro, you picked weights over me?" He shrugged. Didn't think it was urgent. Not urgent. I was soaked, stranded, and he was flexing. That's when I stopped dialing his number. He'd shown me his ceiling. I wasn't breaking mine to reach it. That's the stoic move. Focus on what you can control. I couldn't make Jake or Tara or Alex show up, but I could stop counting on them. And damn, it's freeing. The less I leaned on ghosts, the more I found the ones who stayed. People who'd text, "You okay?" Unprompted. Who'd drive through rain because I mattered. Not out of duty, out of heart. That's the gold standard. Exclusion in crisis isn't just absence. It's clarity. It sifts the real from the fake, and I'd rather know than guess. So here's the deep truth. Support is the backbone of any bond. Anyone can coast through the sunshine. Real ones weather the storm. If they vanish when you need them, they're not just dropping the ball, they're dropping you. And that's fine, it's a filter. Don't let it bitter you. Let it sharpen you. With Alex, I stopped chasing his later. Saw him living it up, didn't blink. He'd made his call. I made mine. Life's too short for half-assed loyalty. My advice? Next time you're down and they pull a Houdini, don't swallow the busy line. Call it out. You've got time for fun. Not me. What's up? If they squirm, you've got your truth. Or just let them fade, silence speaks volumes. Surround yourself with the ones who show up, not just when it's easy, but when it's real. Because you're not a convenience, you're a priority. Stand tall, see who stays, and don't let anyone's vanishing act shrink you. You deserve the ones who weather it. End of story. 7. They gossip about you behind your back. Let's lay it bare. Gossip is a venom that spreads fast and cuts deep. It's the kind of betrayal that doesn't just sting in the moment. It festers, eroding trust and leaving you questioning everything. When someone you thought was in your corner turns around and spills your secrets, twists your words, or peddles rumors about you. It's not just talk. It's a knife in the back. They're not venting or sharing concerns. They're sabotaging you, all while keeping a smile on their face. Here's the unvarnished truth. If they're gossiping about you, they don't respect you. They're using your vulnerabilities as currency to boost themselves, and that's a power play you don't deserve to lose. I've been burned by this, and it's a wound that doesn't heal quick. There was this friend, let's call her Kelly, who I trusted with something heavy. I'd just gone through a breakup, messy as hell, and I needed to unload. Late night, over coffee, I spilled it all, my doubts, my regrets, the raw stuff you don't tell just anyone. She nodded, hugged me, said she had my back. Felt good, you know? Like I wasn't alone. Then, a week later, I'm at a party, and this guy I barely know sidles up, smirking. Heard you're still crying over that ex. Rough, huh? My stomach dropped. Details I'd only told Kelly were floating around, twisted into some sad sack story I didn't recognize. She'd taken my trust and turned it into cheap entertainment. That's the gut punch of gossip. It's not just the words. It's the betrayal. You hand someone a piece of you, and they auction it off to feel big. Kelly didn't just share. She embellished, spun it to make me look pathetic while she played the insider. When I confronted her, "Did you tell people about my breakup?" She blinked, all innocent. "Oh, I might have mentioned it, but it's no big deal." No big deal? My pain was her chit-chat, my trust her ammo. I pressed, "What else did you say?" She shrugged. "Just stuff." And that vagueness was the tell. She wasn't sorry. She was caught. That was the end of us. But the damage lingered. I kept wondering who else knew, who else was laughing. Here's where it gets real. Gossip isn't innocent. It's not just talk. It's a weapon, a way to tear you down without facing you. They don't have the guts to say it to your face, so they whisper it behind you, counting on you not finding out. And let's flip the script. We've all been conditioned to brush it off. People talk, it happens. We say like it's no skin off our back, but it is. It's your reputation, your story, your trust on the line. Stoic philosophy cuts through that noise. Think Marcus Aurelius telling you to guard your peace, not let others' chatter define it. Kelly's gossip wasn't my shame to carry. It was hers. I just had to see it clear. Take another hit I took. I had this coworker, Mike. Chatty guy, always in the loop. We'd vent about work, swap stories, nothing crazy. One day, I told him about a screw-up I'd made on a project. Small thing, but I was stressed. He laughed, said, "We all mess up, no worries." Felt safe, right? Then I overheard him in the break room. Loud as hell. "Yeah, he totally tanked that one. Classic." Spinning it like I was some bumbling idiot. People chuckled. I froze. My slip was his punchline. My confidence his stepping stone. I walked in, stared him down. "That's what you took from our talk?" He stammered. "Just joking, man." But it wasn't a joke. It was gossip, and it was me on the chopping block. That's the controversy. Gossip's a power game. They don't spread it to connect. They do it to climb. Mike didn't just share. He exaggerated, made me the fool so he could look sharp. It's cowardly. Hiding behind "it's not serious" while they chip away at you. And here's the kicker. If they'll gossip about others to you, they'll gossip about you to others. I'd heard Mike trash talk half the team. Should have known I wasn't immune. It's a pattern, not a slip. With Kelly, too. She'd spill tea on everyone, and I'd lap it up, never thinking I'd be next. Lesson learned. Gossips don't discriminate. They just wait for the juiciest bite. Let's get personal. I had this cousin, Lisa, family, so you'd think trust was a given. I confided in her about a fight with my dad. Something private, messy. She nodded. "I get it." Won't say a word. Days later, my aunt calls. "Heard you and your dad are at it again. What's up?" My jaw hit the floor. Lisa hadn't just blabbed. She'd spun it, made me the bad guy. I called her out. "You told Aunt Jen?" She went defensive. "It slipped out, relax." Slipped out? It was my life, not her gossip rag. I said, "That was mine to tell, not yours." She doubled down. "You're overreacting." And that was it. Family or not, I cut the line. Trust isn't negotiable. Here's the deep cut. Gossip isn't about truth. It's about control. They take your story, twist it, and wield it to boost their stock. Kelly made me the heartbroken loser so she could play the wise friend. Mike turned my mistake into his spotlight. Lisa painted me the villain to cozy up to the family. It's not careless, it's calculated. They're not just disrespecting you. They're banking on your silence to keep it rolling. But you don't have to play that game. The Stoics would say your dignity's yours to protect. Don't let their tongues steal it. I had to learn that with Lisa. Her words weren't my weight. They were her weakness. So I started pushing back. With Mike, I didn't let it slide. Next time he joked about someone, I said, "You gonna say that to their face or just me?" He balked. "Chill, it's nothing." But I saw the shift. He dialed it back, at least around me. With Kelly, I didn't just drop her. I warned our circle. She talks. Watch what you share. Word got around. She got quieter. It's not about revenge, it's about boundaries. Gossip thrives in the dark. Shine a light, and it shrivels. I couldn't undo what they'd said, but I could stop feeding the beast. Here's the deep truth. Gossip is betrayal with a smile. It's them taking your trust and selling it cheap, all to feel taller while you shrink. And it says more about them than you, their need to claw up, their lack of spine. I've gossiped too, I'll own it. Dropped a "can you believe her?" To fit in, feel big. But being the target flipped it, I saw the cost. With Lisa, I stopped sharing. She'd ask, "What's new?" I'd say, "Not much." Her pipeline dried up, and so did her interest. Fine by me, better silence than slander. My advice? Catch them at it, call it out. Heard you're talking about me. What's the story? Watch them squirm, they hate the spotlight. If they deny, dig. Then how'd it get out? If they deflect, walk. Life's too short for snakes. Surround yourself with people who guard your words, not peddle them. Because you're not a rumor, you're real. Stand tall, shut it down, and don't let anyone's loose lips sink you. You're worth more than their chatter. End of story. Here's the bottom line. Life's too damn short to waste on people who don't see your worth. These 7 signs: jokes that cut, compliments that sting, exclusion, fake busyness, dodged hugs, vanishing acts, and backstabbing gossip. They're not just red flags, they're wake-up calls. Spot them, name them, and protect what's yours, your self-respect. You don't have to beg for a seat at anyone's table or let their shade dim your light. Draw the line. Set boundaries with the ones who don't honor you, and pour your energy into the real ones, the ones who lift you up, not drag you down. This isn't about bitterness. It's about clarity. You deserve relationships that feel like solid ground, not quicksand. Stand tall, own your value, and let the rest fall away. To everyone tuning into ZenLight 8, thank you. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here, for listening, for vibing with this journey. You're the reason we keep digging into these truths, peeling back the layers to find what's real. Stick with us, keep growing, keep shining. Hit that subscribe if you're feeling it. Drop a comment with your own stories. We're in this together. Until next time, stay sharp, stay true, and keep chasing the light. Peace.